But I find it very motivational to know, even when I'm a black sheep in a situation like that, what has really driven me is knowing that I could bring this information back to you, knowing that I have a community of creative people, of weirdos, of mission driven, lovely, ethical people like you, dear listener, that it is worth it for me to suffer a little bit in those environments, to experience the discomfort of being in those rooms, feeling a little bit alone there, knowing that I could come back to this podcast, to my courses, to my writing, and help you bypass some of that discomfort by bringing that information straight to you. Welcome to the Sunlight Podcast. In this show, we're talking about taxes, money, and careers for self-employed people who have a big vision for changing the world with their work. I'm your host, Hannah Cole, artist, tax pro, and the founder of Sunlight Tax. If you're a creative or soul-centered entrepreneur or wellness practitioner who wants to grow your business sustainably, manage your taxes, and build a stash of fuck you money so you can control your time and have a bigger impact with your work, you are in the right place. Hello. I am so happy. I am celebrating today 100 episodes of the Sunlight Podcast. And oh my goodness, I was so nervous the first time I ever recorded that it is amazing to me that I've gotten into a rhythm. I feel like I have gotten better at it. And I have I've surveyed you, I have gotten a lot of feedback, and I have improved this podcast. So hopefully you find it really valuable. If you do, would you please share it with a friend? There is no information being bought or sold or tracked with podcasts, which is great. It's part of why I love them. But it also means it's incredibly hard for people who are the right audience to find out about a great podcast. One of the only ways there is for this is if you share it with a friend you know will love it. So believe me, when I tell you that I am so grateful for you and all the effort, you just listening to my podcast, I'm so grateful. And if you find it valuable, if you want it to be worth it for me to keep going with this free resource that I give to you every week, it takes me quite a lot of work. Please share it with a friend. Share it with 3 friends, 10 friends. It means so much to me. So today on the podcast, I thought I would share something a little bit more personal for the 100th podcast, a little bit of behind the scenes, kind of a like what makes it all tick episode. So what I'm calling this episode is my hidden agenda. So I want to talk to you about, I want to make explicit things you may feel as I'm talking to you each week. I want to actually say them out loud, in part for just accountability, but because these are things I truly believe in, and they are things I want to do in the world and put out deliberately into the world. And this podcast is a huge part of that. So here it is. I'm going to make visible something that is invisible and talk to you about what I'm actually trying to do in this lifetime, in this world. So here we go. First off, civics. Civics is my love language. Civics is something I think is critically important that has been falling apart a little bit in recent decades. And I believe in it. I want to strengthen it. I think it's really, really important. I have a real belief that we owe something to our country. We don't just have the privileged position of inheriting a perfect country, and it really annoys me. It annoys the shit out of me when people complain about the US and do nothing, right? If you have a friend who complains about things and they never do anything about it, does that annoy you? It certainly does for me. I find it very privileged to complain and feel, complaining without action feels like entitlement to me, and it really bothers me. And so to me, civics and a sense of civic duty is It's like a driving force for me. I grew up in a family that had a very strong sense of civics in some pretty different ways. My dad, he was for 30 years, he has been on a permanent town building committee in the town that I grew up in, and to him, that's civics, right? He is giving his expertise as an architect, his free, volunteering his time to help the town of Arlington, Massachusetts, one by one, rebuild each and every one of its public schools, culminating in the high school, which was I don't know, 15 years long project. And my father saw it through from day one to breaking ground to mid stride in the project. It's not over yet. They're rebuilding the high school now. I never got to benefit from any of these rebuilt schools because I was in the old crappy ones, right? Like I can't even afford to live in Arlington, Massachusetts anymore. It's become so expensive. But I feel tremendous pride that my father gave 30 years of Tuesday nights to this committee and helped do something very important for the town that I grew up in. My mom has a really different kind of civics. She's more of a rabble rouser. She was on the CORE, what is it? The Committee on Racial Equality in St. Louis. And she was known because there weren't that many white people doing that work. She and her friends who were on it were called the white girls. And they would joke that they all looked the same. And so my mom did a lot of work about like racial equity stuff in St. Louis in the 1960s. And I'm really proud of her and proud of that legacy as well. And I definitely grew up with a sense of like, yeah, you might have privilege, but you owe it all back. This has been tough for me at times. It led to a sense of unworthiness and frankly a deep and debilitating depression that made me leave college for a year and do community service. And I'm not asking you to cry for me over that, but I'm saying that that sense of owing something to the world is deep, deeply felt to me. I really believe I do owe something to the world. I've been given a lot and I therefore must give a lot back. So that is a real driving force for me. And if you want to really make me angry or unfollow you on Instagram, you should make some political complaints and then reveal that you've never knocked on doors before. I will be like, unfollow, because it's a pet peeve of mine. I don't think we have, people have died for this country. I know it's unpopular to call yourself patriotic in this day and age, although I wish that weren't the case. I think people have died for our democracy, and to just sit around and shit on it without any sense of owing anything to it is a privilege I cannot abide. So those are my unvarnished thoughts on civics. Second, I believe that taxes are civics. I think, you know, the Boston Tea Party did not happen because we were being taxed. It happened because we're being taxed without representation, right? So the representation part is the second part of a two-part equation, right? We are taxed, and for that, we get to advocate for who we want to be in office. We get to run for office. We get to support people we want, we believe in, who we think should be in office. We get to organize. We get to protest. Those things are a privilege. And I think if you don't exercise them, they start to disintegrate. And you can see that all around. Civics has been under attack. A lot of civics that we used to learn in high schools and elementary schools, those programs have been disappearing. And I actually think you can see it in the culture that people don't know. There's a member services, constituent services office at their local representative. They don't know how to contact their reps. They don't know that they should contact their reps when they have something like a passport issue or, they just don't know what channels to use or how to use democracy, right? And I think just learning about that in school is really important. And I also think taxes are a part of that. And we should all learn about taxes in school. I actually would love a world where I didn't have my company at all, where it was not necessary for Sunlight Tax to exist. Because I think, honestly, the US government through the public school system should be teaching empathetically and clearly how taxes work, because it is your most mandatory part of civics, right? The running for office, creating grassroots campaigns, helping people you believe in get elected, that stuff is optional, right? The civic engagement part of democracy is optional, but paying your taxes is the one and only part that is not. I hope that your taxes serve you as a reminder every year, like, oh yeah, I totally get to contact my representatives because of this, right? I hope it makes you feel empowered and feel some sense of ownership of this country. I also really believe that people who work with a strong sense of mission and vision, people who are creative, who care for and tend other people in their communities, are the very best people to organize, build powerful grassroots campaigns, and create positive change in this world, in this country, right? I teach the taxes, but I really want you to get involved and stay involved on the organizing side. I don't care what issue is your issue, and I'm here for anyone who wants to learn from me, whether or not you agree with my politics or my positions on various issues. I think fairness is truly for everyone. And I hope to teach. Of course, I obviously do have my own political beliefs. You probably sensed them if you've listened to the Sunlight podcast. But I definitely care about presenting things fairly and even-handedly and giving credit where credit is truly due, because, taxes are for everyone, regardless of what side you're on, regardless of your political affiliations. So I'm really agnostic about what you choose as your issue, what you want to organize around. But I do think it's really important and meaningful when people who really give a shit, people like you, knock on doors, have meetings, organize meetings with their neighbors, and get involved in making the changes you want to see in this world, whether it's a speed bump on your road, whether it is a stronger public education system, whether it's the school board, issues at the school board level, whether it's affordable housing, which is generally a local and city level issue. I think these things are really important, but you get to choose. That is your choice. Number 3, I already said this one, but fairness. Fairness is for everyone. I really believe in fairness. I think in our polarized country, our country has gotten polarized in part because of gerrymandering. There's maps in our states, in many states, have been drawn in ways that are rather unfair and really skew elections. I live in a very gerrymandered state. I'm acutely aware of the problem. But what it does when you have a district that is hugely weighted toward Democrats or hugely weighted toward Republicans, where people aren't really having to run in a general election, what happens is the most rabid voters come out and they determine the election in the primary. So the primary winner becomes the winner in the general election in a gerrymandered district that leans heavily one side or the other. And that has led to a really divisive and really polarized politics. And this is one of the reasons that one of the issues I personally choose to work on here in my state of North Carolina is fair elections and fair voter maps, because that actually takes some of this awful pressure out of the polarization in our politics. I would like to undo the polarization that we're currently all suffering from. Of course, social media and those algorithms that prioritize hate and controversy and anger and rage, that's further making this problem terrible. But it's like, I think of it like a marriage that's going sour, that's been kind of heading off the rails and getting brittle, where two spouses are fighting all the time and they just can no longer see the good in the other one. They can no longer admit to their own faults because they're so armored up and ready to fight all the time. I see that as how our politics have turned in this country, and I really dislike it. I really want a world where I get to tell you all that I have Republican friends who I love, and I actually do. I actually really, truly do. I will admit to you, they're largely Yankee Republicans, which are a bit of a different breed. Pretty, you know, pro balanced budget and, still believe in public education. But what I want to say here is like, I think that fairness is for everyone. Fairness is not just for your side. Fairness has to be universal. And I really think no one is above anyone else, no one at all. But no one is below anybody else either, right? So I think it's important to be fair to white men. I think it's important to be fair to Trump voters. It's important to be fair to people I deeply disagree with, because that's the world I want to live in. So it may not be the world I'm living in currently, but it's certainly the world that I want to, at least on this podcast, at least in my company and in my own actions, it's the world that I want to model. Number 4, my hidden agenda. I believe in good government. I really do. Regulation has a bad rap on purpose because people who have enough money to lobby heavily, people who are billionaires who really, really want to make sure the tax code advantages them and they have the money to actually make that happen, they're able to run campaigns to really, really help the rest of us, working class, middle class people, believe what they believe, which is that regulation is bad, right? And I'm here to say, I think regulation is the counterweight to the evils of capitalism, right? I really believe in a balanced, well-regulated capitalist system. I'm a business owner and I love it. And I love helping other business owners do their amazing work. But I want businesses to operate ethically. And I think when they're not operating ethically, I am very happy for the government to be there with with the punishment, with fines, with a way to really enforce, like, no, you can't do that. You can't screw people over. You can't behave like that. And there is good government out there. I don't want to say that there isn't. I just want to counteract this trend of saying all regulation is bad. I think that's not true at all. And if you want a little bright spot, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, Lena Khan, who is the chairperson of it, oh, she is dreamy to me. The FTC has been really doing amazing work, led by Lena Khan, really doing what they can to break up monopolies, to sue large companies like Google and Amazon and Apple. And that is hard to do. And I think, frankly, a good government has a real role to play there, and I believe in it. But the problem is when people like us check out of our democracy and aren't kind of watching and making sure that our representatives stay accountable to us, it really allows government to not be good. And there can be corruption. And when that happens, it helps us all to not believe in it, not want to fund it. And then we get in this sort of ugly cycle of defunding the government, making it incompetent because it cannot afford to do the job properly. The IRS is a great example of this type of lack of funding leading to a lack of capacity. I mean, the IRS is everybody's favorite boogeyman, but I think a well-funded IRS is a benefit to the US taxpayer, right? It's a benefit to everyone but billionaires who currently have a far lower audit rate than you and I do. And that's because it requires IRS funding to actually go after really wealthy taxpayers. It costs a lot more to do those audits because they're much harder. You're facing up to an army of sophisticated, well-paid lawyers and accountants. Whereas when you audit someone like me or you, that's a pretty easy audit. And the person doesn't have that much money to really put up a strong defense. So I believe in a well-funded IRS, and I believe in good government that is responsible to its citizens. And that ties into us being engaged civically. I do really have another story. I have a little personal story to share about good government. And I think it's kind of a foundational part of my attitude towards the government and what it's capable of. So I grew up in Massachusetts, and there's no doubt that that plays into the fact that I have some faith in government, which is not to say Massachusetts is perfect. It most definitely is not. But something really wonderful about Massachusetts is that it's got a reality-based system. I think Massachusetts taxpayers recognize that you get what you pay for. And the citizens of Massachusetts have determined, like, we really care about public health and public education, and we will pay taxes in order to make sure that we have universal health care in the state of Massachusetts and we have really good public education. And so that's what Massachusetts has. And it's pretty awesome. So when I was growing up in Massachusetts, Governor Weld, who was a Republican governor, noticed, and something I really love about Massachusetts, there's so many universities there that there's just a real reverence for research, right? For data. And this is a pretty nonpartisan thing. And Governor Weld in 1992 was looking at the data on teen suicide rates. The teen suicide rates had gone up, they were high. It's something, it just shouldn't happen, right? It's a thing like that shouldn't happen. And so he wanted to do something about it. And so he looked at the data and he just went with what the data led him to. And what the data said about teen suicide in Massachusetts was that it was gay kids. It was queer kids who were killing themselves. And of course, you can kind of roll that back and think about why that might happen. These might be people who are ostracized from their families, who are not accepted for who they are, who don't feel that they have a place in the world. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? And so Governor Weld, a Republican, looking at the facts, decided that this was unacceptable, and he formed the very first Governor's Commission on Gay and Lesbian Youth in 1992. My brother, who was 15 at the time, had just come out, and the governor got, recommendations from teachers across public high schools in the state of Massachusetts. And my brother, who I will say right here, he's got Riz. His name was put forward by the health teacher as like someone with charisma, somebody who's out of the closet, somebody who really gets along with a lot of different kinds of people. And my brother was appointed at age 15 to Governor Weld's Commission on Gay and Lesbian Youth. And they did speaker training. The state of Massachusetts gave him and the cohort speaker training. And my brother went around the state of Massachusetts giving talks at different high schools and helping different high schools across the state of Massachusetts form gay-straight alliances. And guess what happened to the teen suicide rate? It went down. So this is an example of the government looking at a problem, sincerely looking at the data to see where that problem is coming from, and creating a solution that works, right? I saw that, I witnessed it. It was in my own household. And it's something I really believe in. I know that's a bit of a special experience that I had, and it was very up close, but it changed me. It changed my brother. He went into politics, and, he lives in DC, and he's been using those very same skills since age 15 to make the world a better place in his own way. So the idea that government can be good and do good is fully inside my bones, and I recognize it. And I want to impart that feeling to others. And I think that when we all participate, then government really and truly is good. It really it can live up to our highest ideals, even though it hasn't always, and it doesn't always. And lastly, in my hidden agenda, I think that money and power in the hands of people who have a mission and who care, especially people who are historically underrepresented and marginalized, like Black people, Indigenous people, other people of color, queer folks, women, people with disabilities. I mean, you name it, right? Underrepresentation exists in a lot of areas. But I think when people like us have money and have power, the world gets better. I want people whose voices haven't been heard enough to have a bigger say. It is super frustrating to walk into rooms of power and see only white men. And listen, it's not a dig on white men, but it is the historic legacy, right? And I just want the rest of our voices to be able to get into those rooms and have a say and make our voice and our desires known and represented. An example I've had recently is I have been dipping my toe into investing in local businesses. I'm interested in putting my money where my community is. And there are some angel investor groups locally and some, like incubators and some local investing groups that kind of pool their money and put money into local businesses, right? Sometimes for equity. And I've been trying to do the research like a good investor on how it works. And it's brand new to me, right? I've never had any experience with this. No one in my family has ever invested this way. I didn't have any place to learn it naturally. I had no exposure to it. It's really through a friend of mine who has raised funds for her own business, which is a local business, that I started being like, well, how would I do that if I wanted to? If I wanted to invest in your company, what would I do? And she's pointed me to these groups. And what is absolutely shocking is just how old and white and male they are. And I will admit to you that it is terrifying to me to learn something in a setting like that where nobody in the room looks like me, because I have had the experience of my needs being misunderstood and taken for granted. The fact that maybe I have childcare obligations or some of my money needs to go towards paying my mortgage. It's not just all freely available, right? And so my limitations are really important to me. And sometimes if you're not in a group that looks like you, the other people don't know, right? So it's scary to me to learn this new thing because the people I'm learning from aren't really coming from the same place as me. But the thing that gives me strength is knowing that when I do that research, and I will, and I am, that I can bring it to you, that I can use it to help teach you and make it easier for you if you decide you want to invest locally. It helps me be a good teacher when I kind of go back to that humble place and start as a beginner again. In my tax training, I learned everything I know, I learned from older white men. That's who my professors were at Brooklyn College. That is who, not exclusively, but largely. And the two tax firms I trained at in New York City were run by older men. These are all lovely people. It's not a dig on them, but it just, you know, I didn't see what it was like to work for a female accountant. I mean, of course they exist, and I'm one more of them, but it was challenging. It was not always comfortable. I did not enjoy feeling like I was making excuses to go pump breast milk in the bathroom while I was working at these places, because I was like a young mother with a newborn baby at home during tax season. But I find it very motivational to know, even when I'm a black sheep in a situation like that, what has really driven me is knowing that I could bring this information back to you, knowing that I have a community of creative people, of weirdos, of mission driven, lovely, ethical people like you, dear listener, that it is worth it for me to suffer a little bit in those environments, to experience the discomfort of being in those rooms, feeling a little bit alone there, knowing that I could come back to this podcast, to my courses, to my writing, and help you bypass some of that discomfort by bringing that information straight to you. So those are some of the hidden agendas that I have now and forever. And I hope that's been interesting to you. I don't know if you sense those things, if you agree with them, if you disagree. I'd love to know what you think. Let me know. You can always send me a DM at Sunlight Tax on Instagram. And lastly, I want to just remind you what wonderful things can happen when people like you have money and have power and have the skills, the business and tax skills you need to have that money and power to grow your business. It's just amazing. And seeing client after client, like publish her graphic novel about mental health for teens. That's my client, Cara Bean. Or Marissa Molinar, who has a dance studio in the Boston area called Midday Movement, which caters to BIPOC dancers and different body types. Dance is such a wonderful antidepressant and community builder that I particularly love that mission. So it just makes me so happy to see people like you go out there and get the information you need to really thrive. So here I am celebrating episode 100 of the Sunlight Podcast. I am so thankful that you have been on this journey with me, maybe from episode 1, or maybe this is the first one you've ever listened to. If you share it with a friend, I am always grateful. Thank you. And I am I'm hoping to help reward you and give you a little, just to celebrate you with a little giveaway. So I'm giving away 25 copies of Farnoosh Torabi's really funny book called A Healthy State of Panic. It is about financial fear for a first-generation American and how fear has actually informed and helped her navigate her finances. It's a fantastic read. It's a really great book. And Farnoosh has become a friend and she's a lovely human being. And her story is funny and amazing and heartwarming. So I'm giving away 25 copies of this book. And all you need to do to get one, and the first 25 people to do this will get one. I only have 3 entries so far. Just need to write a review of this podcast. Just click the little leave a review section of iTunes, or I don't know how you do it on Spotify. Leave a review, take a little quick screenshot, and then share that screenshot into your Instagram stories and tag me at Sunlight Tax. That's how I know you did it. That's how we know to ask you what your address is to send that book to. I'm so excited to send that book to you, and thank you for the review. All right. I will see you on the next 100 episodes. Thanks, everybody. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review. It really helps, and share it with a friend. I'm so grateful. This podcast is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links we reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.